Friends, I'm going to go in great detail with these top 10 miracles and legendary stories about how the Rosary and Our Lady of the Rosary, the Blessed Mother, came and interceded on humanity's behalf. Whether it was a nation, whether it was a continent, or if it was one person, the Blessed Mother always comes to our aid when we invoke Our Lady of the Rosary. And so the oldest probably is St. Dominic and the Albigensians. In 1208, amid the heresy ravaging South France, Our Lady appeared to St. Dominic, entrusting him with the Rosary as a tool for evangelization. And he preached it tirelessly, and through its prayers, thousands of heretics experienced profound conversion, restoring orthodoxy and peace to the region. This origin story of the Rosary, how the Blessed Mother came to him, he ran off into the woods and was just distraught. He could not get traction in the movement he was trying to sway. That's why he started the order of preachers, to preach and to teach. And it's still to this day as vibrant and lively. All the Dominicans have their vocations grounded in St. Dominic, the Gospel, and the Rosary. And this story, it starts with Dominic, highlights the Rosary's power in combating spiritual errors and fostering true belief. The Battle of Muret. 5 years later, the Rosary became, still during this Albigensian movement, this heresy, Simon de Montfort led a small Catholic force against a massive Albigensian army. So it wasn't just a heresy and in strong words, it was a movement strongly against heretical movement against Christianity. In 1213, so during the Crusades in Europe, when they're trying to fight, in the Holy Land, there was also great armies of Albigensians. And he and his force turned to the Rosary in desperation. They were outnumbered. His men prayed it fervently before the clash, and after all odds, it was like 5-1, they were outnumbered. They achieved a decisive victory that effectively ended the Albigensian Crusade. So again, that movement was a military crusade, and this miracle underscores the Rosary's ability to grant triumph in military, seemingly hopeless military confrontations. The Battle of Lepanto, 1571, 360 some years later. In the face of imminent defeat, the Christian alliance, the entire continent of Europe, all their countries, dozens and dozens of countries, it was probably the first ever NATO, UN. Before the UN and NATO, there was this Christian alliance in the 1570s. So 1600s, inspired by papal exhortations, Pope Pius V or Paul V, can't remember. He exhorted the entire continent to pray the Rosary in Mass, and suddenly in that great victory, it was like 10-1, 10,000 ships from the Ottoman Empire to 1,000 ships from the European alliance. There was this decisive victory when the winds changed, and it was attributed directly to Our Lady of the Rosary, where everyone was not just the Polish cavalry that was coming down to try to help. Every army in Europe was coming to that point, and then the Navy came. Without the Navy interceding in that very moment, very much all of Europe would not be Christian. It would have been a change, great change spiritually for the entire continent of Europe. And Our Lady of the Rosary was given the recognition for interceding led to the establishment of this feast that we celebrate today, October 7th, reinforcing the Rosary's role in safeguarding faith and freedom for all people, non-Christian alike. A great conversion in the 1870s. There was a well-known dedicated Satanist, a priest of the occult, Bartolo Longo. He experienced a dramatic turnaround after encountering the Rosary. He renounced his dark practices, promoted the devotion fervently, and built the renowned Shrine of Our Lady of the Rosary in Pompeii. There's countless healings and conversions attributed to him and the spiritual renewals that followed in that shrine, showing that the Rosary's transformative effect on even the most lost souls can be had. So anyone involved with the occult, anyone lost in Satanism, anyone who feels like their soul trading it for whatever fortune, whatever deal, whatever portal you opened, anything in the occult, anyone who's even seen this video, grab a rosary, start praying it. It's going to hurt, it's going to burn, and you're going to feel nauseous and sick, maybe get a migraine, but you don't stop. That's how you battle them back. Everything the demonic and the devil promise will never come true, and everything that they have taken, you can get back with the power of the Rosary. Mark my words of Jesus Christ himself, I promise it. The miracle of the sun of Fatima, 1917, huge apparition at Fatima, which is actually October 13th, but they all prayed the Rosary. It was flooded with rain. Everyone that showed up for this final miracle, the children, Jacinta, Francesco, Lucia, promised that there would be a great miracle. But it wasn't nearly what it was going to be because of the opposition of the communists who took the children and abused them. They were held captive and they threatened them with life, threatened them with grave evil. And so people showed up, and there was 70,000 people present, and there are actual photographs of this online. There is actual video, and there is audio of people hearing. You can hear people scared out of their minds. When the miracle of the sun happened, what happened is this: the heavens seemed to dance, the sun started spinning around in circles, spitting out every color, translucent, transcendent color in the spectrum of light, and it was showering down on all these 70,000 people, and they were muddy and completely drenched, praying the Rosary, and then it happened. And then the sun started coming down, closer and closer and closer, until they thought they were all going to die. And you can hear the screams on the audio, which you can find online. You can find it on YouTube. The heavens danced, the sun spun, plunged towards the earth before it returned back to normal. The event confirmed that the apparitions were authentic and emphasized the Rosary's role in averting wars and converting sinners. Communism fell apart later on in Spain and Portugal. Hiroshima. Jesuits survived in 1945 the devastations of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. 8 Jesuit priests living just blocks from ground zero survived unharmed. They attributed their miraculous preservation and lack of radiation sickness to their daily communal rosary prayers in obedience to the Fatima's message. Their home remained entirely intact. It was not burned at all. It was on ground zero of an atomic bomb, and they attested to the Rosary's protective power. This is an historical event. This was documented. These Jesuits were the only ones left in ground zero of Hiroshima's massive destruction. Shows the power of the Rosary is greater. Anyone afraid of nuclear war, just pray the Rosary. Everyone, when we get to those, hopefully not, but if there is ever a moment where we are at another nuclear, 1960s threat, pray the Rosary. It will avert weapons of mass destruction. Austria's liberation, 1955, communism after World War II, the Soviet forces devoured Eastern Europe. And the Franciscan priests there initiated a nationwide Rosary Crusade and mobilized 70,000 plus faithful to pray for deliverance. And the Soviets withdrew peacefully from Austria, but they receded back to Croatia and what used to be modern-day Yugoslavia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and those areas. And it eventually granted Austria's full independence. This bloodless miracle illustrates the Rosary's influence on geopolitical shifts and the overthrow of oppressive regimes. John Paul II, in 1978-79, went home to Poland, and they all cried, "We want God, we want God, we want God." And here a Polish pope cried out in loud, gentle voice, "Be not afraid." And about 8 years later, 10 years later, the Soviet Iron Curtain fell, the Berlin Wall fell, and communism, United States of Soviet Republic, collapsed. Brazil was saved from communism in 1964 as communist influences, which are still seen today. Communism is still in South America, Venezuela, Brazil, and it was in Argentina and other places. They threatened to engulf Brazil. A group of women started a group. Love our women. You give a church mom or a church lady a rosary, be careful. Their prayers, they marched a 600,000 group, massive rosary march to Sao Paulo alone. Their prayers and public devotions created such a groundswell of opposition that the leftist government completely collapsed with no violence, preserving the nation's democratic and Christian values. This story reveals the Rosary's capacity to mobilize communities quickly and prevent ideological takeovers like the evils of socialism and communism. The Philippines, same thing. The Philippines people power in the mid-80s, 86, I believe, there was a revolution, millions of Filipinos, very devout Catholics, but the nuns and the priests and the Filipino laity got together in the millions, confronted military tanks with rosaries in hand. You can watch videos of this, along with the Brazil 1960s, that 600-man rosary march in Sao Paulo, and also the liberation, Austria's liberation. Those are actual factual documented cases of pictures and videos and audio of that online. Look them up, it will be chilling. But this Filipino people power, they confronted the military as they prayed amidst the standoff. Soldiers defected and joined them, refusing to fire on the crowds. And this nonviolent uprising toppled Ferdinand Marcos's dictatorship, demonstrating the Rosary's power to inspire courage, foster unity, and achieve justice through peaceful means. We are nonviolent. We as Christians, we will not return violence. The Gospel of Matthew teaches us through Jesus Christ's words. Last but not least, a story of Ted Bundy. In a chilling encounter, serial killer Ted Bundy broke into a sorority house but abruptly fled one room upon seeing a young woman asleep while clutching her rosary. She later awoke unharmed, crediting the beads for her protection. This eerie incident highlights the rosary's supernatural shield against personal evil and danger, even in the darkest of circumstances. The reason why the story got out is because Ted Bundy confessed it. As you read his interviews, he also confessed that all this evil started with pornography. Pornography must be banned. Pornography is the root of most of these evils in our country, especially when it comes to the heresies against human nature and heresies against sexuality of human nature. It all is rooted into the great evils of pornography. To Donald J. Trump, it is in your power to ban pornography with an executive order, or at least find ways to protect it from the youth who are being poisoned at 10, 11, 12 years old. Before they even hit puberty, they're wired for pornography. And you wonder why our men and women to this day are so lost in their identity of being human beings.